Hey everyone, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Redline Deluxe hydraulic line kit. This hydraulic line kit is going to work with hydraulic drum or disc brakes. So if you're upgrading from an electric drum to either disc or hydraulic drum, this is a line kit you're going to need to get it installed correctly. The kit's going to come with 4 rubber hose or rubber lines. You'll notice the 90-degree bend here. These are great for any type of trailer that may have an obstacle that could be in the way from it, rather than using a straight line. Let's say you have a trailer that has a spring pack, leaf springs on it. This allows you to come out, go down and under the spring without this making contact, or in our case here, the frame. The kit's going to come with 2 180-inch lines, a union to connect those 2 lines if you have to go a longer span down the center of the trailer. It's going to come with 2 51-inch lines, which go from one brake to the next on the same side, and 1 72-inch line that's going to connect one side to the other side so that your main line feeding fluid feeds all 4 of your brakes. The kit's going to work with 3,500-pound axles up to 8,000-pound axles, and the kit is going to come with all the brackets, hardware, anything you need to get these installed. So my personal opinion about this kit, to be honest, I don't think it's really that much different than any other hardline kit out there for brakes. Your fittings are all going to be brass, so you want to make sure when you tighten these down on those brass fittings, you just watch what you're doing, because this steel can cause the brass to, you can break it, because obviously steel's harder than the brass is. But at the end of the day, this line kit is going to work just as good as any other line kit to feed your brakes and give you the proper braking pressure. So the next part is going to be mounting your actuator. Really, depending on how your trailer is set up, it's going to depend on how you want it mounted. We originally were going to mount this back behind this box because this box was pulled forward. Our neighbor decided he didn't want it back there. He was going to end up moving the box back. So we made a plate out of some scrap metal to mount it up here in front. With the plate, drill a hole in the back for your hydraulic line, another one in the front for your 4 wires. The 4 wires you have coming off it are blue, yellow, black, and white, which I'll show you how we're going to hook those up in just a little bit. Very simple. I got it bolted right to the frame, the plate, and I have nuts and bolts or screws on the actuator to mount it in place, so it's not going to go anywhere. So on the back side of our brake assembly, there's going to be a little red cap there. It's rubber, pull that off. And we decided to go with the Redline hydraulic line kit because it's got this 90-degree angle. And you can see how close we are to the frame. If we would have went with like a Hydrostar or Kodiak or Hydrostar, it would have come straight out. And I don't want, if there's that much flex in this, and this goes up, I don't want it to hit the bottom of that. So with this 90-degree angle, we can turn this a little bit to keep it from hitting that when the trailer is loaded down and being used. Make sure that's threaded in there straight. You're not cross-threading it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it about at an angle like that. So that when I run my line up like this, it gives enough flex on my line that if that moves, this isn't going to touch anywhere on our frame and get damaged. Once you get that in, come back with a line wrench. And I highly recommend using a line wrench, not just a regular wrench. We're going to use a 3/8. I'm going to try to tighten this in the direction that we want it to sit. We don't want to over tighten these. Once you get one line in, you're satisfied with how it's sitting, go ahead and repeat the process for any other rotor or brake assemblies that you're putting lines on. Next, you're going to have 3 of these inside your kit. You're going to take 2 of them and you're going to put them together. On your driver's side front axle, we're going to thread that setup into your brake line that's going to your brake assembly. From here, what I suggest doing is taking your line that's going to come from this brake assembly to the back one, go ahead and get it routed, bent the way you're wanting it to be, get the one that's going to run across over to that side, and the one that's going to run up to the front to your actuator. Before we drill any holes in the frame or mount any brackets, what I suggest is lightly putting the stuff together. And you can just hand thread these in for now. It's going to go to my back one. This one. We're going to run across to the other side. This one is going to come down into the top of this, and that's going to come from my actuator. The reason I want to hand thread these in, I'm not tightening anything down yet, so I know that how my lines are going to fit in here. I can mount that bracket there. That'll hold this line in place, these brackets, these 3 lines. Just kind of give yourself a layout. You know, we can kind of adjust the lines a little bit, but again, before we drill any holes into our frame rail, we want to make sure everything's going to line up the way we want it to. All of our brake lines going out to our assemblies, coming in, connecting to any of our fittings that we're going to be tied into. We're going to look at how it's right on the frame rail, where we're going to be mounting some loom clamps to hold our lines in place. Look at all of it before we drill any holes. So that one looks good. I got this one running back to this back assembly here. I can mount this one like this. Go over to our other side here. That one I can mount in there. That gives you an idea. I think would be good. We can go ahead and mount our brackets and get our lines tightened down into everything. We're going to take this bracket. Again, we're loosely installed. We can go ahead and pull our lines off, pull our fittings off. There's a groove in the top of that line. Take this bracket, slide over the top, and take this plate. We're going to slide it in place, and that's what's going to hold it. You may need some channel locks or some pliers to get this. Doing it with your fingers is going to be tough. Well, I'll tell you, you're going to have to work to get that bracket on there. Take this guy, thread it back in place. So we get it up there to mount our other 2 lines going into it. And I've marked my spot of how this is going to sit. So I'll go ahead, take a self-tapper, and we'll attach it to the frame rail. Once you get one bracket in place, to get any of the fittings you're putting on, your lines put into the fittings, everything's tightened in place, you can move on to the next bracket. That's going to do it for a look at the Redline Deluxe Hydraulic Brake Line Kit.